There was a young girl named Rachel who was determined to break the world record of the longest time spent awake. She had read about people who had gone days without sleep and was fascinated by the idea of pushing her limits. So she set out to stay awake for 3 days straight, determined to set a new record. At first everything seemed fine. Rachel was full of energy and determination, and she was confident that she could make it through the 3 days. But as the hours passed, strange things began to happen. She started seeing creatures and spirits that she couldn't explain. At first she thought it was just her imagination playing tricks on her, but as the visions grew more vivid and intense, she knew that something was not right. The creatures she saw were sinister and malevolent, and they seemed to be closing in on her. Rachel tried to ignore the visions and focus on staying awake, but they only grew more intense. She could hear voices in her head, taunting her and threatening her with unspeakable horror. The line between reality and fantasy became blurred, and she was no longer sure if what she was experiencing was real or just a product of her sleep-deprived mind. By the end of the third day, Rachel was a shell of her former self. She was consumed by fear and terror, and she was unable to shake the feeling that she was being watched and stalked by unseen forces. The quest for a world record had only served to bring forth dark and malevolent spirits, and Rachel was left to face the consequences of her actions. From that day forward, Rachel lived a life plagued by fear and paranoia. She was never able to shake the memories of the creatures she had encountered during her time without sleep, and she was haunted by the knowledge that she had opened the door to a realm of darkness and terror. Her cautionary tale serves as a warning to those who seek to push their limits too far, for there are some things that are better left untouched. There once was a young man named Alex who was fascinated by the idea of astral projection. He had read countless books on the subject and was determined to experience it for himself. One night, he decided to try astral projection on his own. Despite the warnings of experienced practitioners who advised against attempting it without guidance. As he lay in bed, relaxing his body and focusing his mind, Alex suddenly found himself soaring through a vast, otherworldly realm. The scenery was unlike anything he had ever seen before, with floating islands and strange creatures that defied description. He was filled with a sense of wonder and excitement, and he explored the astral realm with abandon. But as the hours passed, Alex began to realize that he was lost. He had no idea how to get back to his body, and he was growing increasingly afraid. He tried to retrace his steps, but nothing seemed familiar. The creatures he had encountered yearly seemed malevolent, and he felt as though they were closing in on him. Days turned into weeks, and Alex was still lost in the astral realm. His body lay in a state of suspended animation, and he was slowly losing his grip on reality. He was consumed by fear, and he could feel his mind and soul being pulled further and further into the realm. Just when he thought he couldn't take it any longer, he was approached by a being of light who called himself a guide. The guide told Alex that he was not meant to be in the astral realm and that he had been lost for far too long. With the help of the guide, Alex was able to find his way back in his body, but he was never the same again. From that day forward, Alex was haunted by the memories of the astral realm. He was consumed by the fear and paranoia, and he could never shake the feeling that he was being watched by the creature he had encountered. He spent the rest of his life warning others not to attempt astral projection for fear that they too would become lost in the astral realm and never return. Once upon a time, there was a curious young boy named Tim. He was always seeking adventure and excitement and loved nothing more than exploring the vastness of the internet. One day, while browsing through some forums, he stumbled upon a secret website that promised to show him things beyond his wildest dreams. Curious and fearless, Tim entered the website and was immediately transported to a strange, dark world. The website was like nothing he had ever seen before. The graphics were crude and the layout was disorienting. But Tim was determined to see what the website had to offer. As he explored further, he began to experience strange, unsettling sensations. The walls of the website seemed to close in on him, and strange noises echoed through the virtual world. Despite these frightening experiences, Tim pressed on, unable to resist the allure of the mysterious website. But as he continued to delve deeper, he began to experience hallucinations. Shadows danced across the walls, and he heard ghostly whispers that he couldn't make out. The website seemed to be alive, and it was taunting him, threatening to consume him entirely. Tim soon realized that the website was not just an ordinary website, but a portal to a dark and twisted world. The website was toying with his mind, and it was slowly but surely robbing him of his sanity. He tried to leave the website but found that he was trapped, unable to escape its clutches. Days turned into weeks, and Tim was consumed by the website. His mind was shattered, and he was no longer the same curious young boy he once was. The website had taken his sanity, and he was lost to the world forever. From that day forward, whispers of the secret website spread throughout the internet. Some say that if you enter the website, you will never come back, and that your mind will be consumed by the dark forces within. But still, others are drawn to the website, unable to resist its allure and the promise of the unknown. Beware, for the website is waiting, and it will take your sanity, just like it did with them.